Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Talking Cycling, a podcast that's actually about triathlon. But this week, we're going to start by talking about cycling because the Tour de France is on, and Mark Cavendish is a legend. Stop myself. My name is Tim
Yeah,
Ford.
yeah. Not in the
That's
first
James
minute. We'll get
Bale.
demonetized.
Exactly. You know, a couple of weeks ago, that's James Bell. When you did drop one, I had to get our video editor Ace to block it out, and they still tried to demonetize us, and I had to put in an appeal, be like, no, it's not there. You can tell he's about to swear, but in fact wasn't, so they allowed it. But yes, this is a podcast about triathlon, and we're talking about cycling, mate. Mark Cavendish, what a champion! What an absolute champion!
I am absolutely stoked, mate. Like
I can
today
tell.
is
I can
just
tell.
my energy levels.
Look at the
My
energy.
energy levels are up here. We got Mark Cavendish who broke the tour record yesterday, and the UK is about to end 14 years of disastrous rule,
Don't get
austerity,
political.
underfunding of public services, crippling of the social safety net, wage stagnation, COVID mismanagement, Partygate, lies, Brexit. It's all coming to end. The Piper, mate, is coming, and they got to pay him, and it's happening today, and I'm loving it.
We got comments. We get bad enough comments about our Lionel joke. Imagine what we're gonna get now from all the conservatives.
Yeah, I know. Politics is a no-go mode. No, it's not actually. I don't think we've ever have really done the we don't talk about politics thing because but I think Brexit is just the worst thing that we've ever done to ourselves. And
Let's.
tonight they pay the price.
Well, I'm very, very happy for you. I do find it weird that your election's on a weekday, but look, let's talk about the greatest, the man himself, the legend, Mark Cavendish.
Yeah.
35
Yeah,
stage
yeah.
wins, one of the greatest things to wake up to ever. Everyone I know who doesn't even like cycling is talking about this.
Yeah, yeah. It was remarkable. I'd watched the stage a couple of days before where there was the first chance and he got caught behind a crash, but he wasn't in the right position even leading up before that crash. He'd been sort of his team just didn't look like they could get him to the front. He was a bit too far back, and it was like even if that crash hadn't happened, realistically, he wasn't going to break through and win that sprint. And that generated a bit of a feeling of, oh, maybe it's not going to happen. Maybe this is it. Maybe he's gone 1 year too far, and we're all going to have this hype. But then I thought to myself, he's Cav, and he's got this way. He's got this when he's on form. He knows which wheels to follow. And then you watch that stage yesterday, and that's exactly what happened. It was old school Cav. It was like his team worked really well and really hard all stage to have him up the front. You could see Astana had a different attitude. They were present at the front. He wasn't any further than 10 back, almost the entire stage. And then watching him dance, once they faded
Mm,
towards the end, when it really started to heat up, watching him dance through the field and then switch. He
a
stole
switch,
a
yeah.
wheel, then he switched to the left when he saw a gap, and it was like, it's game on. And it was game on. And it was remarkable moment.
One of um one of the things I really liked is the clip of him talking to Pogacar afterwards. He's like, "Don't beat this. Like, please don't beat this record." That made me chuckle a little bit too. Nah,
Yeah, yeah.
just a legend. Like, really, I know I am the world's biggest cycling fan, but this was something that, like, and again, the thing for context for that, and I know we got on about it, and this actually isn't a plug, but watching the narrative in our Talking Triathlon WhatsApp group start with all like, "Oh, he's fucked. He's not gonna. He's out. Like, he's gonna get disqualified. He's not gonna make the cutoff on that brutal first stage." To waking up
Yeah.
to being like, "Cavs won it. Cavs." It was so great. So yeah. Just want to start by acknowledging an absolute legend. So
Yeah, what a champion. What a champion. And what a thing to have seen, because the
mm,
previous record holder, Eddie Merckx, was well before our time. You know of his legend, but he was way before I was born, any of his races. And also, even if you were around then, it wasn't televised. You didn't watch the Tour de France. It was just a thing that happened in Europe, that people talked about sometimes.
like
But
triathlon, you've just summed up
yeah.
triathlon. It's not televised,
Yeah, so
but
yeah,
it's just a thing
remarkable.
that
Well
happens
done, Cav.
sometimes that people talk about. Uh, Other than that, mate, what's been happening? I know that we recorded a bonus podcast for last month, like what, 2 days ago. So we've caught
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
What else
So
is
yeah, it's been
news?
well, what's been happening? I'm coming out of this illness. I did a bit of a I'm now on a mission to lose weight to try and squeeze into a white mesh fucking tri suit.
What would that be,
And as
James?
I said to
What
you
would
on the
that be?
bonus, as I said to you on the bonus, I'm gonna have to do a full body shave because you didn't tell me it was mesh, and I'm gonna look like a hedgehog
It's not like
otherwise.
it's not like mesh, man. Like it's not like
No,
it's
but mate, my level of coverage. I mean, I'll protrude out of a t-shirt, let
well,
alone a normal tri-suit, let alone a mesh tri-suit. Jesus, it'd
what's
be like, have you know that film Hellraiser?
no, well,
But
I just,
everywhere.
but you're the one who started the whole white tri-suit craze, as far as I'm concerned. You started it, the Norwegians
Yeah.
perfected it, so it's only natural that we come full
I've got full
circle.
circle, mate,
Yeah,
innit?
of
Full
course.
circle. I don't know. I don't remember that point in time way back when that I decided to rock a white tri. I
I'd
don't
love to
remember
talk
that
to that,
decision making
James.
process.
I'd love to
Yeah.
talk to that. I'd love to do a podcast with that James Bale. I think that'd be an amazing conversation.
Yeah.
Now,
2014, me.
some
How are
exciting.
you, mate? Anyway.
I'm very excited because I'm about to talk more about this white tri suit that we've got made. Now, if you haven't seen it yet, head to the Talking Triathlon Instagram account, and I'll make sure I put up a photo because it's an all white suit. It's got the Talking Triathlon logo on the chest and the back, and then it's got an image of James's screaming face on both of the legs. And where the team at Purpose Performance were kind enough to design this and get it made quick smart to make sure that you have it in time for T100 London. And when I was talking with Cyril from Purpose Performance and he was designing the tri suit, yeah, his original design was it had a modesty patch, a black patch across the crutch, where like much like Rico Bergen has one or others, Christians had them in the past. And I was like, Cyril, no, I don't want a black modesty patch.
I
I
don't
want
understand why you want to remove that.
to make you have to wear it. That's why. I
We'll see. We'll
well,
see. Um,
got more to
we'll
say.
see how it fits.
Because Cyril from Team Purpose Performance has also agreed that we are going to be given one of those tri suits we can give one away for a competition. So we're going to be announcing that in the next few weeks.
What's
You
the
can win.
competition going to be?
Don't know yet. Got to work that out. But somebody's going to be
Someone's life is going to be made, mate.
correct. They're
They're
going to
going to
get
be
to wear
able
the
to
the bail kit.
they'll be able to rock the bail kit without the modesty patch. Lucky them. Lucky them, I
I
say. But
might
I
get
was
that.
talking
I
to
might get that one a modesty patch for them. Maybe we'll make it
yeah,
optional.
I was optional modesty. I was talking to DTD earlier and he was saying, well, at least you're going to look cool at the T100. And I said, mate, I'm cruising that race like a Roman emperor at the Colosseum, just soaking in the adulation from the crowds. I'm not even gonna break a sweat on that race. I'm just gonna cruise.
I love the thought that there's like, let's say London has a decent crowd, decent spectators out on the course, and they see you majestically uh, taking your time and enjoying it, and they look at your kit and they're like, "White is a brave choice. White mesh
Why
is."
has he got his face on his legs?
That's they go. What's on his leg? Is that a? Hang on a second. He's making the same face right now. It's gonna be
I'm
so.
hoping that face doesn't appear because my heart rate's not going to get out of zone one.
I'll be disappointed if it
Yeah.
doesn't, to be honest. So, can you okay? Can you at least make this as a promise? When you finish the race, regardless of the state you're in, I want you to pull that face for your finishing photo, so that the photo we have is you in the kit with your screaming face, pulling the screaming face. It would be so good for me. Yeah, God. We've derailed the start
Yeah,
of
it's
the
going to be a good
episode.
weekend, that one. As we talked about in the bonus episode, we're going to arrange a little get together for everybody. We're going to get some crates of beers in and sup them under a tree somewhere and watch the pro race once we've dealt with our involvement.
It's soon. It's like 3 weeks away or something. It's
Yeah, yeah,
crazy. Crazy. And then off to Paris to watch the men's and
off to
women's
Paris to
triathlon
watch the
events.
Olympics.
You
We've got.
sure?
I'm away next week, so we've got replacement stand in for me next week, haven't we? Are we going
We
to leave that
do.
as a surprise, or are we going to name names?
Uh, I'm always a little hesitant to name names just in case something goes wrong, and then it's like, yeah, we'll
Yeah,
see.
in
Bit of a surprise.
case someone doesn't answer their phone.
You asked how I am. I am good, mate. Like I said, getting ready for Europe actually. Just plugging away, training pretty good. Although I had an absolute shocker on my run last week. A 30K run and about literally the furthest possible point from home, I bonked completely. Like just completely hit the wall, and then it started to rain. So you can imagine that my 14-kilometer return journey was just the highlight of my running career. But other than that, man, no, just putting in the work, putting in the graft, doing it, all that good stuff. Yeah.
Nice. Glad to hear it.
Mm.
You're a
If
4 day
you,
week man, aren't you now? 4 day a week man?
yeah, I'm doing the final little. I've got a 6 week course I've got to wrap up to get admitted as a solicitor. So I'm just trying to wrap that up. I'll be very, very legal. So if anybody needs any legal advice, let me know. But this podcast is obviously talking triathlon. As I said earlier, we recorded our bonus episode 2 days ago. If you want to find out what we spoke about or even all the other stuff that is part of being the Talking Triathlon Patreon member, head to patreon.com/Talking Triathlon. That's how we pay for our video editor and the hosting and all that good, boring stuff. So we appreciate it. Thank you to some of the new people who joined up this week. We've got some new people in the WhatsApp group too. It will be good with the races that are happening this weekend, as well
You
as the
reckon
Tour
they'll
de
still? Do you
France.
reckon they're going to stay there after all the political chat that's been going on for the last 2 hours? Do you reckon they're going to stick around?
Some won't. Some
I bet
won't.
someone
Some
will
won't.
get out there
Again,
and they'll be like, Jesus, I'm a Tory. I better leave.
I still don't understand why you guys call them Tories. But look, we will talk about triathlon. That is what the podcast is all about. Where do you want to start, James Bale?
Where shall we start? I mean, it's tempting to start with let's start with Taylor Knibb, shall we?
Let's do it.
Yeah, so um her coach Dan Lorang has said that she is likely to swerve the road race. Being that we've started on cycling, it's probably a good idea to continue that theme for a minute. He said you really have to separate time trial and road race cycling. The time trial is about pure performance, about aerodynamics, about riding a time trial bike. And for sure, there's a higher chance to also be competitive there compared to road racing. In theory, Taylor would be qualified for the road race, but we said no, we will not do this because she's never done a road race. It's for her own safety, but also for the safety of the other riders, as it's a completely different thing. So you can push the power, have the VO2 level, and so on, but it doesn't mean you can manage it. It's not just about producing the power in the peloton, but it's also about trying to save energy and deal with the external factors you can get in a bike road race. That's why this transition is not so easy, and a lot of it is and a lot of time it's underestimated. And I couldn't agree more with that, if I'm honest.
Mm.
I think absolute sense been talked there. I didn't realize earlier when we were discussing Taylor Knibb and what she was going to do, what she wasn't going to do. I didn't, when he says she's never done a road race, I didn't know that was the case. If I had that information in my brain that she'd never done a road race before, ever, not even like any kind of road race, then when she'd qualified for the road, I'd have just been like, nah, that's not a thing. Your first road race ever is not the Olympic road race. That's not
I,
what happens.
I mean, let's analyze Taylor Knibb a little bit. Though her first Ironman was Kona. Like it would sort of be on brand for her.
It would be on brand, but it's an entirely different thing. You've got bike handling, you've got dynamics, you've got being in the peloton, being that close to other riders, being that close to other wheels, handlebars, nudging, bumping, you all that stuff to deal with. It's just not, it
I
would
mean,
be bad. It
perfect
would be
example
bad.
is I mean, I'm sure it's definitely on the rounds this week. We spoke about it, but if you look at the footage of Cav winning that stage, the Haji Baji, the crash, like the contact, the way they bump into each other and stuff, it's a perfect example of just how like physical and close these guys race. Uh, Dan Lorang obviously is somewhat of an expert on the requirements of professional cycling, considering
He
he's
knows a thing or two, doesn't he?
a few bits and pieces.
Yeah.
He's just the great. What a legend! Like
Yeah.
I have so much respect for Dan Lorang. I think he's no offense to anybody, but I think he's the best triathlon. I bet maybe the best endurance sports coach in the world at the moment, and just a very
Yeah, yeah.
reasonable
He's the head of performance and the
Bora.
head coach for Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe.
I forgot they added the Red Bull again.
Yeah.
Bad.
Mate, it's the first time in my life I've been tempted to buy a cycling pro team jersey
It's cool, isn't it?
because I like it. I really like it. Normally I don't like the idea of wearing a kit of any kind, never have for any sport really. But nah, but this one I quite like.
I'll admit, when I was for early days getting into this, I bought myself the Orica Green Edge cycling kit because it was the first time we had like an Australian, team in the Tour de France. So that was pretty cool. Other than that, absolutely not.
I've got a collection of signed jerseys, but that's a different thing, isn't it? I've
I've
got
got
a signed jersey. I've got a Bradley Wiggins signed jersey. I've got a Mark Cavendish green jersey, and I've got a yellow jersey that Greg LeMond actually gave to me.
I've got a yellow jersey signed by Cadell Evans. That one's pretty cool.
Oh, that's
Although,
cool.
except the
Can I
problem is
have it?
after. No, because after or maybe actually because after I read his book, I sort of hated him. It's like, oh, I don't like this as much anymore. No, but I think everything that he said makes sense, and So again, it also again back to speculating about triathlon in our Olympic corner. Uh, I guess maybe it means that she is also interested in the mixed team relay. Like I said, I would have.
Yeah, and that completely dismantles what I said a few weeks ago, doesn't it? You know, my theory that she was going to do the time trial, the individual, and then the road race and miss the mixed team relay. This puts her back, in my opinion, because the road race is on the Saturday, the mixed team relay is on the Sunday. This puts her back in the conversation as opposed to out of it. And I still don't think they're going to pick her for the mixed team relay. You know, I'm going to stand by my they're going to pick Spivey and Casper, but I've been wrong in the past, and I might be wrong on this.
Well, see, to me, it's the reason you pick Kirsten Casper. You definitely gonna have Spivey,
Yeah,
and look,
same.
maybe the problem is we're guilty. We've not seen Taylor Knibb do Super League. Actually, so maybe it is just like she's still got a silver medal in Tokyo. Like she obviously can do it. Uh, yeah. Look, yeah, I'm glad I'm not one of the selectors, but yeah, I would have thought that she wouldn't, but maybe she is. It is such a short distance that you can sort of, fake it, I guess isn't it's not the right word, but the only thing I'd say is probably why I'd still say no is, we've seen her make that leap up to Ironman, and while she's still extremely competitive at short course, that super high end, you need to be really good at the
Yeah,
super
we,
short
we
stuff.
haven't seen a race Super League, have we? You know,
Exactly.
that's probably why,
Mm.
because it's such high intensity stuff.
Let's stay in Paris though, because you've got some more information about what's plan B, plan bullshit as I think of it, or like just the fact that we still are in a situation where they haven't come up with a reasonable alternative to having to swim somewhere else rather than a duathlon baffles me. But what have you got, mate? What's the information about what their plan B is?
Yeah, so basically they're basically done a run through of what the impacts would be because if they don't have the swim, they don't have a plan B, which we've discussed before. So they
It's
don't appear
fucking
to have any other
ridiculous.
bodies of water in France that might be suitable. The River Seine was it for them. So they decided if they do cancel a swim, they're gonna have a duathlon, which means they're gonna have 5K of running to begin with. Then they'll have the bike as normal, and then they'll have 10K of running afterwards. And basically, it's just gonna favor stronger runners, isn't it? I
Hmm.
think I think in the men's race, it would favor Hayden somewhat. I mean, obviously
Hmm.
Alex is a decent runner as well. He's
Hayden's
not bad, but it
Hayden's
would.
stronger though, I think.
How do you mean?
Well,
Sorry, I
Hayden
missed that. You cut out then.
So Hayden to me is more of a strength-based athlete. So the additional 5 kilometers of running, I think, could actually
Yeah.
suit Hayden really, really well. And like, I know that Alex is Alex, but I think Hayden would be better adapted to a hard run followed by a hard bike followed by another hard run. Where again, I just don't have the information, or like in my gut, I suppose this is what I'm talking about here, is that Alex would still have an exceptional first run, but maybe the transition back onto the bike, he might, like, we've never really say it. He's done fine at Super Trays, but I don't know. I like that's the only sort of thing we ever see where they sort of mix up the distances and the order of events, and Hayden excels at that. So I mean, look, I'm sure Alex is fine, and I guess that they're probably taking precautions for all sort of eventualities. Uh, yeah, I think that it was. I agree. I think it would suit Hayden Wild very, very well. What about in the women's? Who do you think would benefit the most in the women's?
Yeah, I mean, it's you're going to be just like it's the same as the men's, isn't it? You're negating any really strong swimmers. So you've got anybody that would be relying on that swim to be ahead. You're putting the ball back in the court of the runners. Um, I think Beth Potter and Cassandra Beaugrand maybe would probably be the ones that you're thinking would really benefit from that. But they are the ones that I think are going to be up there anyway. So I
Mm,
see less of an impact on the women's front. Um, Taylor Knibb probably it would damage her, I think, a little
I
bit.
agree. I agree.
Um,
I think it would damage her.
and Flora Duffy as well. I think it would
But
harm her.
Flora's, I don't know actually. Flora to me is so well. The thing I think Flora's got is she's so good on the bike that, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I just don't want it. Just fucking, is the what's the weather been like? I know that I'm enabling you to talk about your favorite thing, but how's the weather been in Europe? Like, how's the weather in has it been sunny? Is it warming up or is it still
But
wet?
we're having actually quite a surreal year this year because summer was really, really late, not only in the UK, but it was really, really late in France. It's only just started in the last couple of weeks, really started being as hot as it normally would start to be mid-June
Okay.
or early June, really. It's been quite strange and changeable, and it still is. You can still go from quite hot to quite cold. I feel like I should have a weather map behind me,
Maybe I'm sure we could.
low pressure moving in from the south,
Ace,
mate.
if you're listening, mate, just feel free to edit in a weather map behind James. That'd be lovely.
So yeah, it's been a strange year. The summer's been late, but I think it's going to really ramp up now, and we're going to get some really intense heat. And what that means for France is you're going to get thunderstorms. So what we could see is either a really, really hot day, or there is I would say, a 10% chance of one of those thunderstorms landing on the on that day. But what happens in France, it just gets hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter, more and more humid for like 2 weeks. Then there's a massive thunderstorm. So if it
Hot does it
lands on
get?
that day, we might get some intense fucking rain.
How hot does it get?
Uh, a sort of early 30s, really.
Okay.
It's about as hot as France get. I mean, I've been over there and it's been 36, and that's probably been the biggest I've seen.
I know that when I was in
It doesn't
Nice
get as
last
hot as
year,
Italy. Italy gets into the 40s, which is stupid.
Nice last year was ridiculously hot. Like I couldn't believe how hot it was. And then when we took the train up to Paris, Paris was cold by comparison. So I don't know. I've just always had this idea that Paris doesn't get that hot. So I've never been to Paris in summer. So I've only been there in winter or autumn or spring. So yeah. Fuck, man, I don't want to
Yeah, I
do
mean,
our
I tend
fun.
not to city in the winters. Sounds a bit just
I was
like
about to say I retired to my country estate.
it did. I did sound a bit like a prick then for a minute.
You sure you've
But
voted for the right political
cities
party today, mate? Should you maybe have voted for the Tories?
cities in the summer, there's so much concrete, it soaks up the heat, it amplifies it, and it just feels 5 degrees hotter.
I was surprised at how hot it
I
was
spend
in.
my summers in the Beaujolais, mate.
Yeah, well done. I do love it. Yeah, can you just take the monocle off, mate, please? Like honestly, I know that we're just take it off, okay?
I'm gonna go and change my vote.
Thank you.
See if they can let me extract my slip.
Well, is there anything else about the Olympics? I think most of the teams have been announced now. We know who's going to be racing.
No, not really. I mean, we know who's racing. We haven't had any. We don't think we're close enough to the day yet before we start to get those last minute people that pull out because you know that there are some people out there at the moment that are too injured to race the Olympics, but have been selected to race the Olympics and are leaving it to the last minute to announce that they're injured in case they suddenly get better miraculously. So we'll have this sort of swathe of people announcing they can't race within the last 2 to 3 days before the Olympics happen. Then there'll be some substitutes going on. But no, I think we're at the point where the teams are selected. We're worried about the duathlon. The weather's the most important thing.
Oh, you're
Roll on the Olympics
frothing.
from
You're
here.
loving that. That's just like James is salivating. The weather's the most important thing. All you Brits absolutely love it. Look,
Yeah,
on
man.
the Olympic reserves, I guess let's transition to the T100 wildcards for London because they were announced, and if they are not the best wildcard picks we have seen this year in the T100, I do not know what's what because the two big names that I am most excited about is Sophie Coldwell and Jess Learmonth have both been given wildcards to race the T100 in
Yeah,
London.
it's like they listen to you, isn't it?
Man, I
Because this
honestly,
is exactly what we were saying
yeah.
2 weeks ago. That now that they haven't been selected for the Olympics, obviously Jess, I don't think she's really in the running, but now Sophie's not been selected for the Olympics. A wild card for her, fantastic.
So the wild cards for the women, we've got Sophie Coldwell, Jess Lemont, Els Visser, Haley Chura, Lisa Norden. That was a great one. And
Yeah, that is a good
Anne
one.
Reichman in the women's. And in the men's, I believe it is just Yuri Kulin and Kyle Smith.
Yeah. Only 2 slots in the men's.
Bit less
Now
excited about the men's.
I mean, Carl Smith's a
Yeah,
good
legend.
addition to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
race, obviously, but you've already nailed your colours to the post in the women's, haven't you? And said that Sophie's going to win it.
Yeah, I think so. Sophie, again, I know I said it was very, very early days, and I have nothing to base on, just I guess hype and excitement, and I am known to get a little bit carried away. But I see. All I think of is the Leeds WTCS race in what 2021, where we had
Mm,
Lucy. Remember when Lucy Charles-Barclay came back and did the WTCS race, and we saw Lucy, Jess, Sophie, Maya in that
yeah.
that pack led the swim, and it completely decimated it completely destroyed the field. To the fact that we had Sophie, Jess, and Maya as a three party lead pack, just they could never get caught because of the damage they did in the swim. And Maya went on to win it, which was phenomenal. And I just see Lucy and like those girls having the swim power to really plus there are Brits in UK absolutely fucking rip it. Like I think that
Yeah,
it is.
they ripped it. It was
And
so good, that race.
look, and I know people have said, we saw what Katie did when she went, when she sort of jumped on the TT bike and didn't have the best of times. Sophie to me is just like rough as gut. Like she's just such a strong athlete. I just see a muscle in it, and she has no weakness. Like she is. I mean, obviously running is not as good as some of the others, but she ain't a shit runner. Like she's a swim
Do you
bike runner.
think if Taylor was racing London,
Yep.
Sophie would be in that
Yep.
conversation still?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, again,
Interesting.
having said that, with the uncertainty of knowing what she's like on a TT bike, okay, that's the only thing I
Yeah, yeah.
don't. I, I just think Jess and Sophie. I mean, Jess Learmonth to me is somebody I'm very excited to see transition to middle distance racing because, like, in fact, both of them are. They're both like in my head. I have this idea of what sort of short course athletes will transition really like Taylor Spivey. Love her. Slight question mark. Doesn't seem to have
Mm.
that same level or like bike strength. She's small. The ability to push the big watts you sort of need to be able to
Well,
do. I'm sure she can get super
I
air
mean,
and stuff.
aero and power to weight is on her side.
Definitely. Just again,
Yeah.
it's this internal thing I have. I guess I can't explain it. Where there's certain athletes I see, I'm like, fuck, and they're going to do so well. Like
I
again,
think I
Flora.
think it's I think it's because in the pro cycling world, most of your rouleurs and time trialists are bigger people.
Like
But
Flora Duffy, I
then
would have expected.
some people break the mold.
Flora's an example of somebody who I've been surprised hasn't been as strong. I would have expected with again with the way Flora is such a well-rounded athlete, and we've seen her do multiple middle distance races, never excellently, but
Mm.
we don't know about the injury, blah 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 blah. But again, Sophie and Jess to me are two that I'm really excited to see. I imagine. I don't think this is the end of Sophie racing short course. I expect this is like, yep, I'll have a crack. I'm a bit upset about not making the Olympics. They've paid me money. Timing's perfect. Take my mind off it. Excellent. Jess, I could
Yeah.
actually see if this goes well for Jess Learmonth, I could see her really start to transition fully across to middle distance slash long course racing. I mean, look, that we are what as much as people are probably sick of the Olympic corner. What's coming after the Olympics is that who's transitioning because it happens after every Olympic cycle. I love it. Like I get so excited about it. I think it is probably as much as I'm excited about the Olympics, I am excited about the list of athletes who are going to move on from short course post Olympics. And you have the athletes who do it well and fully commit to it, and then you have the athletes that sort of are never quite sure. They have sort of one foot in each thing for maybe a bit too long. The obvious example to me is Alistair Brownlee. We saw him trying to make the Tokyo team, didn't excel at either for a long time, and here we are years later, and he still hasn't really reached that same. He's had some great performances, but we're yet to see him reach the highs in middle distance or long course that we've seen him reach in short course. And I don't
Mm.
know, but I get the impression a big part of that was sort of trying to do both or trying to do everything for too long.
Yeah. Do you think the implications of that are still being felt? Or do you
Yeah,
think it's just yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
big
yeah,
time.
I agree.
I also
I
think
agree. I
that guy
think
pushed himself to the absolute limit for so long. Uh,
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think he was. I don't want to put words in people's mouths, but that's what we do. We're a podcast. We speculate. I
exactly.
think I think he was revving the engine in a short course capacity long after his body had stopped being able to handle
Me too.
that revving.
I think yeah, but so that's why these two wildcards in particular, and I know Els has had an incredible year. Who else? Lisa Norden. It's Lisa Norden, right? Part of the greatest finish in triathlon history. Like
Yeah.
there's great names,
Oh,
but
man, it's always a pleasure to see Lisa Norden race, isn't it?
fantastic. Like again,
Brilliant.
fantastic. And yes, we are aware that she is also the national time trial champion of Sweden. We spoke the other day that there were two in triathlon we meant currently. So there we go. Thank you, YouTube.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, in particular, Jess and Sophie are like this is what I want to see them use the wildcards for. I have been frustrated a little bit by seeing this just like roll down WTCS process, protocol, whatever you want to call it. Man, like I honestly, I hope that the moment Paris is over, PTO get out their checkbook and they go after Hayden, they go after Alex Yee, they go after like Christian, they go every one of those,
I mean, there's no getting Alex Yee, is there?
I'd
He's
love to
got
see
more
him.
Olympics in him.
But it's not a one-way ticket to like just get him to do Ibiza. I just want to see all those short course guys. Now the Olympics going to be over. Let's have a bit of a party and go do something a bit different. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah,
want to
you
see
want to
it.
see the evolution of the PTO series into something that is absolutely packed with truly competitive athletes from like number 1 to number 20.
Yeah,
Because like you say, like we said before, we're seeing a race between normally top 4, top 5 at these PTO races, and it would be really cool to see it like a drafting WTS field.
we sort of do. The
Yeah.
the other thing as well though is I think that with the way the sport has gone the last few years, we've had a certain X factor, or we should call it a KB factor. We've had this Christian Blumenfeld guy who has been everywhere. And like again, for me, I love it. I love to see like we've copped it and I'll still stand on that hill. I still think the athletes who go through that pathway of going through the federation short course, migrating later, not even later as we see, they're always going to be just a step ahead of the more traditional long course guys. I'm adamant about this. And Christian did such a good job of covering the field. You'd see him at a super tri race, and you see him at a WCS race, and you see him at an Ironman, and he was doing well everywhere. And with him laser focused on the Olympics in recent times, we've not seen as much of that. We've seen Taylor Knibb doing it, and I love it. But there's not really been too much. Obviously, it's Olympic year, but seeing Martin do we saw the impact, I guess, that Martin Van Riel had on that T100 San Francisco event. So it shows, and that's why I get so excited about this thing. And like I was so happy to see these wild cards get announced. Kyle Smith as well. I fucking love any race Kyle's in is just good for me, and I really want to see him. We sort of see him, but he's sort of building into his year in a lot of ways. We saw him not so great. I picked him for the win in Singapore. He nearly fucking won San Francisco. I would put him.
I want to see him vomit fluorescent green vomit again, mate.
I don't particularly want to see that, especially if we're there in
That's
person. Uh,
because what the fuck
yeah.
was that stuff coming out of him? Who knows? Who
The
knows?
only the only problem I have with Kyle Smith getting his T100 wildcard, the only problem I have is that it means that we will not see Kyle Smith at a race this weekend in Germany that is an iron distance race that many
Yeah,
believe is
that's
the
a
greatest
problem
iron
for you, isn't
distance
it?
race in the world.
That's a problem for you because you're not really allowed to change your picks once you've picked them.
Well, let's talk about Roth. I did my picks in the Daily Try Fantasy League, and it is the most unexciting fantasy picks I've ever made in the sport. Roth is a fantastic race, but I am so uninterested in this field. Like I look at it, I'm like, yeah, okay. And I
Yeah,
know,
because Andrew Horsford Turner messaged me and said, "Who's your picks for Roth and who's Tim's picks?" And I said, "Well, I think Ditlev is going to take it. Tim reckons Carl Smith is going." He was like, "He's not racing, mate."
yeah.
And
Okay.
uh, and I
So
argued the point. I was like, "No, I think he is because Tim, he
he
said it."
was, he was, he was racing, and I know that he pulled out once he got the wild card. So
Yeah.
I spoke to Belinda literally because when I was in the picks and he wasn't there, and I said, "Hey, BG, is Kyle doing it?" She said, "No, he's pulled out because he got the." So yeah, I think it's like I'm not even, I honestly went through the picks, and the great thing that for those you haven't, definitely play the Daily Try Fantasy League, but it sort of ranks your picks based on ranking, and I like
Mm.
it's like I literally just went 1, 2, 3, 4, like on it, I was so just like, oh God. I don't know what it is about. I don't know why I can't get excited about the Roth race. Like I really, everything about it is exceptional, right? You watch the broadcast, it's amazing. What Magnus and Danny did last year, incredible performances. I'm just not excited this year, mate. Like, and I sort of touched on this a lot more in the bonus podcast, but there's nothing inspiring about this field to me. Like, there's so many names that I wish we saw there. And again, I know it's not the athlete's fault; they can only race who's there. But yeah, I don't know. Let's talk about Roth. Who's on the list?
Yeah. Okay. So we've got Magnus Ditlev going for his third win in Roth. And around him, we've got Patrick Lange, Rudy von Berg, Daniel Beckergaard, Peter Heimrech, Jan Stratman,
What do you call
Clement
him?
Mignon,
Peter who?
Heimrech.
Oh, good.
Heimrech.
There we go.
Um, and for me, it's a done deal that Ditlev's going to win this. I think the only other talking point in the men's race is whether Patrick Lange can break the 2:30 marathon, alongside whatever position he gets within the race, which won't be first because Ditlev's going to come first. Um, Other than that, that's kind of the two talking points for me is how fast can Ditlev go, and can Patrick Lange break that 2:30 using his whatever super shoes he's got on this year round, because they've changed the rules and they can do what he wants now. He can
I
come and
think it was that
turn
last
up
year
in
as well, right?
springed shoes.
They, they,
Hey,
they did that last year as well, though, I believe. There was no restrictions on the shoes last year. Is that right? I don't
yeah.
know. But I know that some
And
other
they've changed the
interesting.
drafting now,
Yeah.
haven't they? It's 12 back to 12 meters. So we're gonna see some faster
But they have
biking.
race ranger, James. Yay. Uh, I love that this race is all about trying to set the fastest possible time. Like for that, I can go for it. Do
Yeah.
you last year we had Sam Laidlow and Magnus had that battle on the bike, and then Sam, mysteriously, tore his calf. And I do the air comments because there's no way he then goes and does the performances he does in Nice after all the sicknesses and injuries and things that he had last year. I think he was playing games, but uh, obviously Magnus, I can't really see too many people riding with Magnus if he tries to go for a really fast time. Do you think he? I mean, I kind of know the answer, right? Like he's a fucking robot. Do you think that he might not be able to go as fast if he doesn't have somebody to work with, or do you think it doesn't matter with
No,
Ditlev?
no. I think Magnus will go as fast as Magnus goes. And his swim has improved so much over the
Yeah,
years that
it's
he's
ridiculous.
never got that big a deficit anymore coming out the swim. He's in my opinion a goodish swimmer now. You
Oh,
know.
mate, he's the best of the rest. Like he really is
Yeah,
the.
exactly. He's that sort of leading the second pack swimmer out. Um he will bike as he bikes. The only thing that will change in this race slightly is with the reduced drafting. Some people might find it easier to stay with him for a little longer because he's a big guy. He does have quite the draft. You're going to be allowed to be a little closer. Um, whether anybody can hang with him the whole way, I would say no.
What gap does Patrick Lange need to Magnus to outrun him? Like if he is within a certain time, what's the gap Magnus needs? Sorry, let me rephrase that. What's the gap Magnus needs to not let Patrick catch him? Because we saw Patrick catch him in Nice, and I still
Yeah.
do think that as you've just made an excellent point that the reduced draft in distance means that pack is going to stick together. Maybe Magnus will go off the front, but I don't see like maybe that group will not end up 15 minutes back, for example. Maybe the gap will
No,
be.
exactly. Because you're going to have Magnus is going to fuck off the front. Somebody might stay with him for a little bit. Ultimately, you're going to have a group behind Magnus that is closer to each other. They're getting better drafting effects. They're working better as a pace line. They're going faster. So that deficit to Magnus is whatever it is going to be reduced. I think Magnus needs 11 minutes, doesn't he?
So we're saying Patrick could run sub 230.
Yeah,
Magnus
he might run a 2:29 something.
Magnus is what a mid 240s, low
Yeah,
240s. He's not a sub
low
240
240.
runner.
So I think Magnus needs no, he needs 11, 12 minutes, I think, to be comfy.
Okay, maybe this is
11,
a bit
12
more.
minutes for a sprint finish.
Maybe this is a bit more interesting because if you actually look at some of the other names in that field, there's some decent like Leon Chevalier can ride a bike, mate. Daniel Beckergaard
Beckergaard can ride a bike.
ride a bike. Patrick Lang can ride a bike. Like I know that he's not a shit bike rider. Peter Heimrich can ride a bike. Jan Strutman can ride a bike. Like there is bike power. And if that group does stay together, you're right. I think that if they're smart and they work together, they could actually really minimize those losses. I think that yeah, if it's around 10 minutes, that's going to be a good race. I think. Like
Yeah, totally. Because you've got that. That then puts in the. I mean, I don't need to convince myself to be excited about. I'm excited about this race already, and I think, like you say, I think if it became a universal thing that it went back to 12 meters, I probably wouldn't like it. But at this race, where they just like, you know what, PTO are doing their thing, Ironman series are doing their thing. We're Roth. We're a thing to ourselves. Why not play up on that? We've already got the sort of the fastest course in triathlon mantle. Let's fuck around with that and see what dynamics we can do. And I love the fact they're going for that because they're reducing that drafting rate. Ultimately, it benefits Lang more than it does anyone else, in my opinion.
Again, you see what this is why we do the podcast, mate, because you've won me over a little bit. You've gotten me a bit more excited about this race. I actually might change my picks. I might pick Lang just to be
There you
different.
go. There
I
you
mean,
go.
I think, like I said, Magnus just
Sprint
gets
finish between Ditlev and Lang, mate, because he's caught him at the
the most
last corner,
the
and
most boring sprint
they
finish
come
in
into
the
the
history
stadium
of sport.
together. Hey,
The most boring sprint finish in the history.
yeah, yeah,
I love the thought.
quite a dull sprint finish.
It'd be the complete opposite of the T100 one in San Francisco. It's just these two guys. I don't
Yeah,
even
yeah.
think Lang
It would be
is.
beige vomit.
And then the news, we touched on this a lot more on the bonus episode, but there's an addition to the women's race in Roth, another name,
Yeah, yeah,
somebody who was
yeah, yeah,
unable to race
yeah, yeah.
San
Anne
Francisco.
Haug, Anne Haug is still sick. She's got a sick note, and therefore she's racing Roth. Like we said at the time, isn't it? It doesn't seem to have been any implications um for triggering the injury protocol at the PTO race, because she went and did it. It still makes me every time I try to say it, it makes me chuckle. She rocked up a few days later at a 70.3 and raced as an age group. I was almost like, in my head, it's like she was disguised,
Mate,
with a little
that's
mustache on or something.
what we spoke about a few. Like, I still giggle when I think about is that thought of some uh, elite age grouper, and I'm doing the air commas, just stand there being like, I'm hot shit, and
Yeah.
talking and being
And
like,
then
oh
there's
yeah,
somebody in a trench coat and a hat with a moustache next to them at the last
the
minute.
fake glasses, and the
They
fake
just
nose, and
emerge.
the moustache, and going, oh, I'm trying to get a world champ slot for Taupo here. Oh yeah, okay. What's your PB? Oh, what's your best race? Oh, I'm in Hawaii. Oh, how'd you go? I won it. Oh yeah, you won your age group. No, I won the whole thing.
And then she just reveals,
It's just, it's
casts
so.
off the disguise. But yeah, she's going to be racing Roth. Who
She's
else
gonna
have we
win
got?
Roth.
Els
Laura
Visser,
Phillip.
Anne Reichman, Daniela Lewis.
Laura Phillip.
Um, it's I mean, it's hers to lose, isn't it?
Like, I think Laura Phillip. I think her and Laura Phillip will have a good race.
Yeah,
And
agreed.
how isn't though? Okay. Yeah. I'm Anne Haug, the way she ran in Lanzarote. Now she's in the Roth course. Super shoe rule.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Lower
looking good.
drafting. What could we see happen here?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm very interested to see what Anne Haug does. But man, she doesn't give a fuck about the T100. Like, she couldn't give a shit, could she?
No, no. The meme
Oh
that
yeah.
we both absolutely love and have discussed on the bonus podcast at length. And actually, I think you posted it on the
It's the
Talking Try
On Your
Instagram.
Left guys did it. It's I think it's probably the most accurate piece of triathlon content I've ever seen. It's Key and Peele, where he's pretending to be the president, and he walks out like, yep, hello, shakes the hand. It's like T100 Miami.
Yeah,
There's like, yo, what's up? It's like Challenge Roth, and it's man, it's yeah, it's bad. We
yeah,
we
yeah.
speak a lot about this on the bonus podcast this week. So if you wanna hear our thoughts, behind the paywall, that's the place to go. But yeah, man, she doesn't give a shit about the T100, and I just think that they need to be a bit more firm and maybe come down a bit harder, because it's just the optics of this. It's just been like one thing after another lately, and yeah, it's not great.
So Roth is on Saturday, 7th of July. The race starts at 6:35 local time with the pro men, and then the pro women start 3 minutes later at 6:38.
So, Roth, last year, we saw the men's and women's world records be broken. Or
Yep.
technically not, because Christian's still gone
Ditlev and
faster.
Reef.
We saw them on a non-tide assisted swim. I still count Christian's as the world record. Fight me. Are we going to see world records broken this year?
Yeah, we might do. You never know,
Oh,
because
they're
we're
talking
gonna
about
have.
beige vomit. We might do. Come on, mate.
Did I just? Yeah. Yeah, I think we probably will.
Okay.
I think it's an interesting one, because obviously Magnus is such an individual effort athlete that it depends whether he can race himself. If he wins, if Patrick Lange beats Magnus, that, in my opinion, is more of a guarantee of we're seeing a record
I
for.
agree.
I think if Magnus wins it, we may or may not. It depends whether that last race was his best. if Lang wins, then I think we may well, because it means that that group has biked significantly fast enough to be within spitting distance of Magnus, and then Lang might run fast enough to take that record.
On Lang, there's a few things to discuss. And again, it's what we do on the podcast. But Patrick Lange is an athlete who focuses on, like, I've had conversations with Lang, and how they define success is winning world titles. It's in Kona this year. He came second last year on a course that, suited him quite well. But, Kona's a course he's won twice. Lang has he's already done Texas. I think he did the Ironman Texas. He is doing Roth. He's on the start list for Frankfurt. He's got Kona as well. We've seen him sort of wobble the start of the year, like especially at 70.3s, he's not been anywhere near the front of the race. He took a break. We sort of have seen him take a bit of a break or a step away from racing recently. Like, I'd not to say that he's not always going out to but do you think there's an element of, is he worried about risking his Kona slot by going too hard? Maybe, I mean, even Magnus, right? Magnus also has to validate. No, he did. Sorry, I take that back. He validated
Yeah, he
last year.
validated early last year.
So there's that difference, right, as well. I guess I wonder which one cares about it more. And I know that Magnus has the history with Roth, but Magnus doesn't have a Kona title. Patrick has two and is also German. Like, there's so many factors that could really sort of change up the dynamic a bit about what this race does. So I think you're right. I think that if Magnus wins it, I don't see Magnus breaking his own record again if he goes solo, personally, without the Sam Lalo. That I know that he does his own thing, but they did work together on the bike. I don't see there being anybody in this field who could do that with Magnus. I mean, even Sam couldn't. He busted his calf. But if Lang runs him down, all that draft zone means that they are, close enough, and then runs a 2:28, 2:29. Maybe. I'd love it if he does. Again, I'd love to see that number keep coming down, and I'd love to see it keep coming down by different athletes. I think that'd be great. What about the women's?
Yeah, I mean, I'm here for it if Anne Haug could do it, because it would be a really cool thing to see. It means she's run really, really, really fast. And it means that this reduced drafting has had an effect on the bike to allow a group to bike really quick together. Yes, I think it could happen on the women's side of things.
Firstly, I love the idea of Daniela Reef's record standing as long as Chrissy Wellington's did. That Chrissy Wellington record stood for so many years. You were really lucky to talk to Chrissy just after the record got broken last year and get her thoughts about it. And, Daniela Reef is, in my mind, the greatest long distance female triathlete to do the sport. I think that we're going to see that record get broken and broken and broken and broken and broken by women in the next couple of years. I see women going sub-8 in the immediate future. I wouldn't be surprised if Anne Haug is the one to do it. I agree.
I think we're seeing the curve of improvement is so steep in the women's field at the moment. I think we're nowhere near where it can land. And I think we're in the point now where we're going to see it start to, really hit the stratosphere.
What is she running, Lens, already? 240 something. Like, it was fucking mental, right?
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
You put on this course doing that. I mean, I really think that, like, she doesn't give a shit about the 200. I'm actually okay with it, to be honest, because this is what I want to see Anne Haug doing. Like, I think that, I mean, again, she won Ibiza last year. Like, she's so good, and that run is so killer. Yeah, I'm thinking that it is going to really be between her and Laura Philipp, and I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, I'm going to say it will happen. I think Anne Haug is going to break Danny's record this year. There you go. I have to go out on a limb. It's easy to stay safe in the bushes watching with my trench coat, but I'm going to come out and make a call.
How much by Mystic Meg over there?
What's the 808? Is the current? Is that?
Yeah.
Is it?
I think so. Hang on. Roth.
Yeah, look it up. But I think, look, while you're doing that, look up. God, don't people love it when we start doing research live on the podcast? Because what did she? I want to make sure I got the time right that she ran in where was she? Lanzarote. I want to find out what time she ran, because that will, I think.
The women's record is 8:08:21.
I was right, mate. Look, I almost know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And obviously, just for completeness, Ditlev's is 7:24:40.
So 3 minutes. That's so fast. Fucking hell, that's
Yeah,
fast.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see him breaking that this year. No, no offense. I think. What did he run last year? Can you see that?
No, I don't see it either.
Why can't I just stats.p? There we go.
Look on the
Uh,
PTO website. That's what you
I
want.
am on the PTO website, man. I'm just trying to get
All
this.
right, mate. He's down.
What's his name? Magnus Ditlev. Where are you? There he is. Let's look at his
While you look it
results.
up, the reason I don't see him breaking it is, he hasn't had the trajectory this year. With an injury and coming back from that, he's still very strong. He's doing very well, but he's not absolutely steaming.
237. So we said he was a 240 something. So that gap is less. 237 is lightning after a 357 bike.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay, so then he needs what, 8 minutes?
what did Anne Haug run last year? She was 13 minutes behind Danny last year. So she was 8:21. So I don't know. I just think that Anne Haug, where are you? What did you run in Lanzarote? Anne Haug ran in Lanzarote. People are screaming because they know. They're screaming at us. No, that's not it. That's 2023. She ran 2:49.
Mhm.
Okay, man. It's gonna be, yeah, we'll see. It's exciting.
We will see. We will see.
I mean, I'm not that
She's a
excited. I'm not that
she's a
excited
hell of
about
an
that.
athlete.
Daniel Beckergaard, where's he at? Where's his head at? Are we seeing him? Is he back to being the athlete that we know he is? Because we've seen him take a few wobbles at the start of this year. What are you
I
expecting from
hope
Daniel?
so. He's a
I fucking,
badass, and he's
I
someone
really
I've
hope
got a
so.
lot of time for. I really like Daniel. He's a good bloke, and I'd
Legend.
really like to see him smashing it again.
He's good for the
He's
sport,
Jimmy
man.
Jimmy fifth place at the moment, isn't he?
Oh man, again, I don't know. He had that weird year last year, and
Mm.
then he went to Ironman Western Australia, fucking dominated. I thought, yep, he's back. He's got it sorted. And started this year, it's just been fucking wobbly again. I hope that it's all good. And the other one as well that I am yet to see him do something that we know he's capable of is Leon Chevalier. After that performance in Kona in 2022, I've just been waiting for him to go to that level that we think he's going to, and it could be here. I know how good Leon is. I think it was a mistake for Leon to take the T100 contract because he's another athlete that I just want to see do really, really fast Ironman times. Uh, I mean, it's the race to go fast at, right? And Leon is an exceptional
Mm.
cyclist. I think he actually, if I'm correct, 2022, no, he didn't. He nearly set the bike course record, but he had a penalty. So Sam Laidlow broke the course record, but didn't have a penalty, and Leon wasn't far off, but he got a littering penalty in Kona. So like he is an exceptional cyclist. And then he ran him. What did he come sixth, seventh? No, eighth. He was top 10. He was top 10 in
Yeah.
Kona. So and then good last year. So Leon's another one that I think is one to watch. So look, do we want pick podiums? I mean, like literally for me it was I think Magnus.
Just while we're talking about predictions,
Yes.
keep that in your head.
Okay.
A few weeks ago, I
Yes.
said to a friend of mine, Labour's
Yes.
going to win this general election with a majority of 160 plus.
Okay.
The exit poll has just this second come out,
Okay.
and it looks like Labour are going to win with a majority of 170.
So
So
you
bang on, mate.
I
Bang
mean
on. Jimmy
10
predictions.
10
Carry
10
on.
o- t-
Back to
10
triathlon.
10 off, aren't you? Didn't you say 160? 160 is not
I said
170.
160 plus. I gave
Okay.
myself that
All right, there you
that,
go.
that margin of error.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, okay. So podium picks. I think I've already sort of said it, right? Women's it's Anne. What did I say? Anne, Laura, and can't even remember. Doesn't matter. I can't be bothered. What's next? Let's move on. We got a few minutes to wrap up. What's the last
I
thing we
mean,
want
my
to touch on?
podium. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to Magnus Ditlev on the men's side for the win.
I'll go Lange.
Patrick Lange second, and I am just for the sake of wanting him to be up there, but Beckergaard is rounding off that podium with a really solid race. On the women's side, I think Anne Haug will take it. I think, like you say, Laura Philipp will be second, third, Elsvisser maybe.
She's been in good form this year. Wouldn't surprise me,
Yeah.
actually. I think that's a great shout.
Yeah.
I think that's a great
What
shout.
else? Triathlon legend Johnny Brownlee as player manager and Beth Potter and Alex Yee have launched a Super Dry team. Super Try team, not Super Dry. That's a clothing brand.
And it's a beer. In Australia, Superdry is a branded beer. So there you go.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, is it nice?
Nope.
Ah,
No,
it's a
no,
bit like tenants or
no
something, is
good.
it?
It's just a shit beer. Chewy's super dry. No thanks. Not for me.
Okay, so Britain's famous Olympian brothers, Alistair and Johnny Brownlee, have launched a new endurance race team, Brownlee Racing, um, which will be at the Super Tri events. And they're going to have, like I said a minute ago, Beth Potter, Alex Yee as their big name early signings. Presumably, they've got more to come. And I think they're only going to be eating raw meat, aren't they?
Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it?
That was
Uh,
weird, wasn't it? Yeah.
Liver King times
Yeah.
Brownlee collab. I thought that was odd, but we've not really talked about the teams in Super Tri, but we sort of talked about it when it was announced, and they've since announced who the four teams are, and we've not discussed it much. So I think, I mean, I've sort of known, I've sort of known the lay of the land for a while, but we've got who have we got? We've got Podium Racing from which is a coaching group out of America, own one team. We've got Stars and Stripes, the fucking most god awful name for a team, uh, which is the USA Triathlon backed team, I believe. There's Brownlee Racing, obviously the Brownlees, and then we've got Crown Racing, which is the Bahrain victorious Super Tri team. It's a lot of changes to Super Tri happening this year. 16 athletes, 16 men, 16 women, and four of those athletes all have to be under 23 athletes. So of the total field, each team has to have one under 23 athlete as part of their team. So a lot less spots. Like last year, there was 5 athletes per team. Some had 6. All races, more races. A lot more races. We got Chicago and Boston. What are you thinking about the setup of Super Tri this year? Are you excited for it?
Yeah. I've learned my lesson long ago
Yeah.
about doubting changes they make. Um, because, you know, back at the inception of Super League, I didn't believe in it. I thought it was going to be rubbish. And it turned out to be great. And every time they've done something or changed something or disrupted something or adapted with something, it always turns out to be all right. And I really enjoy watching the racing. I really enjoy what they do. I love the commentary. I love the presentation, the video presentations. I like the whole package. So I'm here for it, mate.
Yeah, I really like the team model. I think the team model is it's something I want to see spread out a lot more in triathlon. Uh, the Brownlee racing team, yeah, what is it? Because I heard that non-Stanford might be the team manager or helping out a little bit. I can't see Johnny doing both athlete and management. I don't think that's going to happen. But I love that they're invested in the sport. Like they're very good. What the people don't understand how much the Brownlees do for the sport. Like so, they've got Brownlee Racing. They got the Brownlee Foundation that works with Phoenix to put on their kids triathlons. They have literally thousands of children a year go through their free
Mm.
triathlon program. They've also bought an event company in the UK that they also now own races. Like these guys are like we talk about the legacy and the impact they've had, but they're actually doing tangible good to try to grow the sport. And it's something that I don't see enough of. I love to see the investment that these guys are putting back into the sport. It's great. And they're like, I mean, first 3 names, pretty handy, right? You're gonna have the male gold medalist, another male gold medalist, a female medalist, what color I don't know.
Yeah.
Who else do you see? Do you think they're gonna go the whole like we're all British thing? Because we're going to have those Americans, even though
I
the
mean, I would
Americans,
I would assume so. I would assume so.
I don't know, because
So I think
having
yeah,
the
we'll just see a little British
theme,
cycle, won't we? Different people popping in and out.
because isn't it the Stars and Stripes team with again, they've called them like, but then they've got like Leo Bergier and like the Frenchies are on that team as well. So it's a bit, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I love the team thing. I'm excited to see it. I'm waiting for them to announce their full roster of athletes. And then same thing again. I'm curious to, it's funny because I'm also curious to then see what happens at the Olympics and how that impacts the athletes who do or do not race Super Tri this year. Uh, yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. I'm looking forward to it.
So am
There
I.
was one race. Sorry, we had Gustav Eden do a race there was a 70.3 as part of the Ironman Pro Series in France last weekend. I cannot remember. We tried to pronounce it last week. Vittoria something something something. Do
Yeah,
you know the name
something
of
like
it?
that. Yeah.
But
No, not
Gustav
with me.
Eden finished. He's obviously getting a bit better. He's now ratified his spot for Kona, which means Gustav Eden will be in Kona.
Yeah,
Uh,
his focus has he said he's targeting something cool in Kona.
What does that
as
mean?
he takes another step back towards the summit. Who knows what it means, mate? I mean, I think, yeah. I mean, if he says he's targeting something cool, then I assume he's hoping that he will,
Stay cool
he'll
in
be more of
Kona.
an athlete in Kona. Yeah, more of
Stay
an
cool in
athlete in
Kona.
Kona and go there and actually try and crack the whip a little bit.
It was Ironman 70.3 Les Sables d'Olonne. Laura Madsen first place. Nikki Bartlett, have to give Nikki a shout out. It was so
Yeah,
good to see
great effort.
Nikki Bartlett back out there. And honestly, watching her run through I actually thought she might, without context, maybe be able to win it. But Laura Madsen is certainly on a trajectory. Third place, Kate Curran, who was a minute back. In the men's race, Nicholas Mann from Germany won it. Yuri Kulin was in second. And Clement Mignon himself was in third. Jimbo,
Old Philly.
we will be back next. No, you will not be back next week. I will be back
I
next
won't
week.
be back next week. You'll be back with a guest presenter who
Mhm.
presumably won't be the one we're expecting, but be a last minute summoning of
Just
somebody because people always let us down.
yeah, I don't think this person will let us
No,
down.
no.
They're very, very reliable. But Jimbo, pleasure as always, mate. If people want to find out more about us, what do they need to do?
If you want to support the show, jump on at patreon.com/talking triathlon. If you want to follow Tim, he's at tford14 on Instagram, and I'm at bale.james85 on Instagram. Find us across all social networks at Talking Triathlon on Insta, at Talk Triathlon on Twitter. And if you want to join the Patreon group, you get access to the monthly bonus episodes like the one we just recorded and keep referencing. You'll also get access to the social group and the WhatsApp group. And the WhatsApp group has been brilliant today because we've just been rinsing the Tories.
It's not always political. You can always avoid that stuff if you don't like it as well.
Yeah.
YouTube as well. Get over
Oh,
there.
we're a broad tent, mate. We welcome all.
We certainly do. Yeah, jump on. Great place. Great conversations on the last episode. Some very, very angry people because of the fact that Lionel Sanders is American. Still makes me laugh how fired up people get about it. Somebody got very upset actually, and that made me chuckle a little bit. But yeah, that's a great place to go over there. It's the best place to give us your thoughts, opinions. Who do you think is going to podium in Roth? Do you think the world record is going to be broken? Please go to YouTube, comment, subscribe while
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
there.
Come and disagree with us. I
All
mean,
that
always
stuff.
interested. That's the point, isn't it? The point of this is not for us to say this is what we think and you should think it too, but
Correct.
just inform your own decisions and come back and tell us what you think.
Yeah, we're very rare to like crack it, right? We'll always have discussion and that's what it's all about. Jimbo, thank you very much. Talk to you later.
Cheerio.